Yo, hey everyone. Grab some tea, coffee, or something to eat, because today we're in for another round of wild internet stories. And to keep things interesting, I'm continuing my Minecraft adventure in the background. The stories are seriously wild today, so let's get started without further ado. I lost my virginity 3 nights ago to a guy I'd known for 5 minutes. I'm a freshman at a private university away from my home state who's been pretty straight edge all my life. Aside from some mild drinking over the summer, I'd never done anything that could put me in harm's way. Even when people I knew in high school were going out to party and have sex with people they barely knew, I never felt pressured to be the same way. Fast forward to the summer after my senior year, my best friend had been constantly telling me that I needed to get laid and that I should party it up in college because I won't have anyone there to tell me what to do. My friend stayed at home to go to school, and I went out of state. So I mostly talk to her on the phone now. Recently, she had told me that she met up with a guy just to hook up. I don't know why, but I felt jealous. I'm not someone who gets guys. I don't think I'm ugly, but I'm pretty socially awkward sometimes, so I never saw myself getting naked for a stranger or someone who wasn't my husband, I guess. Well, about a week ago, I got a dating app similar to Tinder, posted my picture, and immediately started receiving tons of messages from actual good-looking guys. This was a first for me because, like I said, I'm not someone who gets guys. So now we're looking at 2 nights ago. This 22-year-old guy messaged me. I'm 18, almost 19, and offered to pick me up to hang out. I honestly don't know what came over me, but I figured, sure, why not? Then he messaged me. Are you DTF? And again, don't know what came over me, but I said sure. So the guy came to pick me up at around 3 in the morning. Yeah, I know this was super sketchy. He was nice to me while we were driving. We kind of made conversation, and then we pulled into a parking lot. Long story short, we got into the back seat, and we started kissing. Granted, it was my first kiss ever, so it was initially shocking. And of course, he felt me up as well, which I'd never had happen before either, obviously. However, the guy was under the impression that I wasn't a virgin, and that I was a little more experienced. So then he asked if I would give him a blowjob. Now, I told him that I had never done that before and was a little nervous, but he was like, it'll be fine, so I agreed to it. I'll spare you the details, but it wasn't the most pleasant thing I've done, and the entire time I couldn't help but think, am I really doing this? This isn't really me. By the end of it, he was convinced that I had given one before. After that, he asked if I wanted to go back to his place, and I said okay. By the time we got to his house, it was around 4 a.m. He took me to his room and then put on a movie, and we just kind of laid in bed together, and then he started feeling me up again and started kissing me. I'm not going to lie, I wanted it pretty bad, and so I just acted like I knew what I was doing, and I don't think he ever suspected anything. Before the actual sex, he wanted me to give him head again, which I did, and he returned the favor. Again, the entire time I just couldn't help but think, is this really happening? How did I get myself into this situation? Then when it finally came for us to have sex, he flipped me around and gave it to me from behind, which I wasn't really expecting. And like I said, he didn't know I was a virgin, so he didn't exactly go gentle. Truthfully, though, I didn't care, and it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be in the sense that since he knew what he was doing, he knew how to take care of my needs. And let me just say, he lasted a long time, so it's not like my first time was 2 minutes, and then it was over, which again, was something I wasn't expecting. Now, since I took it from behind, I saw him put the condom on, but I never saw him take it off at the end, which kind of worried me. Somehow, I got into my head that he could have taken it off before we actually had sex, because he switched off from fingering me, from actually going all the way at the beginning, and it's not like I had prior knowledge of what a condom versus no condom feels like. Anyway, even though I was worried, I was exhausted, and we both fell asleep in his bed. The next morning, we both woke up around the same time, and I heard someone in the kitchen. I asked the guy who it was, and he said, "It's my mom." So the whole time I was under the impression that he was living with roommates, but it was actually his mom, and now that I think about it, she might have been in the room next door and heard the entire thing, because we weren't exactly quiet. So then I asked the guy how he would get me out of the house without her seeing, and he goes, "We'll just introduce you. She won't say anything. This has happened before. So we end up heading to the front door, and his mom turns around and sees me. He introduces me to her, and she asks if I'm his girlfriend. Me and the guy both kind of say something like that, and his mom turns to me and says she was very nice about it, by the way, and she had some kind of European accent. Don't let him do that to you. You're either girlfriend or not. Of course, I didn't care if I'd never talk to the guy again, but I thought it was nice of his mom to say that. Well, finally the guy took me back to school. We said our goodbyes. And then I got back to the dorm room and kind of reflected over what happened, wondering if it really did happen. My roommate was, of course, like, "Where the fuck were you?" To which I responded with vague answers. But later, I couldn't shake the thought that the guy might have taken the condom off. So I ended up coming clean to my roommate, and she ended up asking one of her guy friends to take her to Walgreens, and she came back with some Plan B for me. I don't know if I really needed it or not, but it's better be safe than sorry. As of this post, my roommate doesn't know that it was my first time having sex. Okay, let's leave the student adventures behind. The next story is much simpler, but for some reason it captivated me even more than the previous one. I drove 13 hours to attend my class reunion this weekend, and besides a girl who planned it, I was the only person who showed up. The girl who organized it was one of the shyest people in our graduating class, but also one of the smartest and kindest. She had put so much effort into everything. Decorations, games, cake, food. She really tried to make it special and fun for everyone. Then the excuses started rolling in. One person said they were sick. Another said their kid was sick. But one of the girls who canceled had literally posted on Snapchat the night before out bowling with her husband and kid. I even called and texted her asking if she was still coming, and she told me she or her family was sick. Then later that same day, she asked me to come hang out with her that night. I just sat there thinking, I thought you were sick? It honestly made me feel awful for the girl who planned the reunion. You could tell she was trying not to let it bother her. But how could it not? Imagine putting yourself out there, spending your own money, organizing everything, and then watching almost everyone flake at the last minute. What really got me is that I lived the farthest away out of everyone. I drove 13 hours to be there. The girl who planned it drove 2 hours. Most of the other people lived in town, or maybe 30 minutes away. Afterward, she invited me over to her parents' house, and honestly, we ended up having a really great time together. We rode around on golf carts, looked at her chickens, ducks, and turkeys, and just talked for hours. At one point, she opened up about how lonely adulthood has felt and how she feels like she doesn't really have friends anymore. I paid the amount she originally asked everyone to chip in for the reunion, and she immediately offered to give it back since nobody came. I told her absolutely not. If anything, I wanted to help pay for half, because she clearly spent a lot of time and money on all of it. She still refused to let me. The whole thing honestly made me sad. Not even just because people didn't show up, but because someone genuinely tried to create something thoughtful for people she cared about, and almost nobody valued enough to make the effort. I'm really glad I went, though. I hope she knows at least one person appreciated everything she did. Well, the previous story turned out unexpectedly kind, but the next one begins with a problem I've never heard of before. Imagine your relationship falling apart not because of cheating, not because of money, and not even because of lies. I'm about to break up with my fiancé due to his extremely extroverted behavior. I have been with my fiancé for 3.5 years. We got engaged after 1 year of dating and have been living together for about 2 years now. On our first dates, I could see how much he loved talking to people. I mean, random people. We would be somewhere like in a shopping mall, and he would start talking to a random person about anything. Or we would be in a restaurant having dinner, and he would start talking to the people sitting at the table next to us. Now, I'm not a fan of talking to strangers, so I didn't really like this behavior of his. But I sometimes joined the conversation a bit or stayed on my phone waiting for it to end. The problem is that he started doing it more and more. Sometimes I could see the person he was talking to was trying to end the conversation, but he kept on talking. It started feeling a bit off. One day, we had a really bad situation with some girls in a restaurant. He started talking to them. They were sitting at the table next to us, and they started saying some very embarrassing and awkward things to us. We just wanted to be left alone at that point, but they wouldn't stop talking. Later that day, I finally gathered the courage to tell him that I didn't really like this talkative behavior. especially because sometimes it made me feel completely put aside and ignored while he was talking to a total stranger. He apologized, but his behavior didn't really change. Then I started realizing a few things. Every time we were in public, he wasn't fully paying attention to me. He was always looking around, trying to find someone to start a conversation with. At first, I thought he was just extroverted, but there was always this voice in my head telling me something was very wrong with this behavior. We traveled abroad for my birthday, and we were at this party, drinking and having fun. Out of the blue, he started talking to this guy and completely forgot about me for about 10 minutes. When we went home, I talked to him about it, and we had a really bad argument. That was the first time I thought about breaking up with him because of that. But in the end, we talked and he apologized and said he was going to start controlling himself more. His behavior changed the first few weeks, but then he started talking to random people again. The only difference was that he started apologizing to me right after talking to a stranger. About 3 weeks ago, we went to a restaurant, and right before finding a table to sit at, he started talking to this guy who was waiting for a takeaway. I was just so tired of it by then. So I found a table myself and sat there and waited for him to finish talking. After some minutes, he came to our table and apologized for talking to that guy. But I didn't even say anything. I was just like, what's the point? The next day, I arrived home from work exhausted and just wanted to sleep, but he insisted we should check out this apartment. We were looking for places to buy, and told me it was going to be quick. I ended up going, and after the inspection, he was driving us home and saw his friend's car and started honking and stopped the car. I was boiling at that moment when he left the car to talk to this guy for about 10 minutes while I was there in the car waiting. He knew I was tired after working for 10 hours, but he still couldn't resist talking to this person. Again, he came back to the car, apologetic, and I just said I was not in the mood for his apologies and just want to go home to sleep. He got quiet and drove home. We talked about it later, and he apologized again. The thing is, he apologizes but doesn't stop. And it hurts me so much because that really makes me feel like literally any person is more interesting than me in his eyes. The last straw was when we were in the supermarket, and he started talking to these guys. One more time, I was there, put aside on my phone, waiting for him to finish his conversation. At one point, he mentioned to the guys something along the lines of him being the girl's chosen one. I'm not going to say exactly what he said because that would break his anonymity. I was there, next to him, hearing him say something like that to a bunch of guys he had just met. In that moment, something snapped in me. Something made me see that I had indeed become invisible to him when he was talking to random people. Something made me see that, for him, strangers' attention was more important than my attention. I didn't say anything in the moment, but I told him once we were home, and he was furious, saying he was tired of me controlling him. I never meant to control him. I just expected more from him as my partner, more respect, more attention. Now, we are sleeping in separate bedrooms, and I'm trying to find another place to go. He is being extremely apologetic again, but I'm just tired of that. Just tired of forgiving him so he can do this all over again. I really think I deserve something better. Okay, now here's a story that really made my stomach churn. It all started with one ordinary thing that most people wouldn't even notice. My negligence nearly killed my son, and my wife still has no idea. A few years ago, my wife and I took our son to Hong Kong for a holiday. He was 7 at the time and has pretty bad asthma. He always carried a rescue inhaler with him. The inhalers have those little counters on top that show how many puffs are left. Right before the trip, his current inhaler hit 0. My wife bought a new one and left it on the kitchen counter. She told me to pack it while I was sorting out our son's bag. I remember grabbing an inhaler off the counter and throwing in the backpack without really paying attention. We spent a few days in mainland Hong Kong and then took a ferry out to one of the islands for the day. The air quality was awful, and it was humid as hell. While we were walking around, my son started wheezing and then had a proper asthma attack. I opened the backpack to get the inhaler and instantly realized what I'd done. I had packed the old one. I still remember seeing the little 0 on the top and feeling my stomach completely drop out. I genuinely thought in that moment that I might have killed my kid because I couldn't do one simple thing properly. My wife was freaking out. My son could barely breathe, and I just handed it to him without saying anything because what else was I supposed to do? He took a couple puffs, and somehow it actually worked. I don't know if there was still a tiny bit left in it or if it just helped calm him down enough to slow his breathing, but he stabilized enough for us to get back on the ferry. The entire trip back, I felt like I was going to throw up. All I could think was that if things got worse out on the water, it would be entirely my fault. We took him to a hospital. As soon as we got back to the mainland, he ended up being completely fine. I made sure we got another inhaler immediately while we were there. My wife still has no idea. She thinks I packed a new one and that everything worked out the way it was supposed to. I still think about it all the time, especially whenever I see one of those inhaler counters near empty. I've told literally no one. I felt like it was time to confess it to at least someone. Okay, the previous story was one of those that stays in your head for a long time after you finish reading it. But now I'm going to tell you a story that was even harder for me personally to read. Because sometimes the most terrifying things happen not around us, but in our heads. I'm a very fat, very ugly woman. Every possible thing about me is wrong. I'm a woman who can't give birth. I grow a full beard. I'm overweight and nothing pleasant to look at. Today, my boyfriend of 5.5 years went to get another hand job at another massage parlor, and it really just hit me while I looked at the pictures of the women he paid to touch him. I think I, as an ugly woman, need to just accept that some people are too ugly for someone to choose to be faithful to. If he's saddled with this fat, ugly monster of a woman, maybe he should be allowed to pay to get touched by someone better to look at? I was planning on leaving him, but I can't. Both financially and emotionally, I can't, and maybe I shouldn't. My value in the dating game is genuinely so bad that I think I'd die poor and alone. If I let it continue, I'll at least have someone by my side. Anyway, that's it. I think as a fat, ugly woman, I should just be thankful that someone at all wants to spend any time with me. I'll likely never have sex again, but honestly, that's probably the case no matter what so. Ick. To be clear, I know there are lots of pretty fat women, but I'm just not one of them. I'm fat, depressed, ugly, beard on my face, lazy eye. It's just reality to accept that nobody will ever be okay with dedicating their entire sex life to the likes of me, and if I'm being completely honest, I fear it may be selfish to try to make someone. Not everyone is born to be loved and cherished and adored. I know for a fact that I'm in that camp because literally nobody in the entire world loves me and hasn't for the entire 26 years I've been alive. My dad wanted to abort me and has nothing to do with me. My mom trafficked me with her boyfriend when I was young. My sister is no contact with me. My boyfriend of over 5 years uses sex workers. I've never even gotten a promotion. I am inherently unwanted. I'm alone. And I think I have to accept that I will likely always be alone for my own sanity. Whether it's love, loyalty, attraction, it's not meant for the likes of me, and that's the reality. Edit. Please stop trying to give me weight loss advice. I was on Weight Watchers at 11 years old and have been dieting and trying ever since. I've tried everything. Telling me I'm just lazy isn't helpful, and I didn't come here asking for help, just to vent about how I feel. I've been in therapy, on meds, to the doctor. Please, I've tried. Okay, this is just who I am. I have 26 years of experience being unliked. So if you don't like me, that's okay. I can tell you this is real, but how to prove it. Maybe read my post history, but honestly a month ago I was a lot more hopeful and optimistic. So it kind of sucks to go from that to this. Just like how not everyone can be loved, not every story has a happy ending. Sorry to disappoint. But is anyone surprised? Story number 6. My mom died 3 weeks ago, and something my boyfriend said has been bothering me ever since. I'm 26F, and my boyfriend is 26M. We're long distance, and have been having a lot of issues lately. We've been going through a rough patch for a while now. My mom passed away unexpectedly on May 14th. My boyfriend came to visit me on May 31st. A few days later, on June 2nd, we were at the mall, and he wanted to stop by a vape shop. While he was checking out, I was looking around at the other stuff they had. When he finished paying, I asked what he bought. He said, "Just a vape?" I asked to see it, and he initially refused twice before finally handing it to me. I only wanted to see what it looked like because I quit vaping about a year ago, and they've changed a lot since then. When he handed it to me, I realized it was a Delta 8 vape. That surprised me because he quit smoking weed around the same time I quit vaping and had always said he was done with it. I asked him when the last time he smoked was, and he told me he had smoked a joint on the golf course with one of his friends, a friend I absolutely cannot stand and who has been a major source of problems in our relationship. I asked when this happened, and he said it was a day or two after my mom died. Then he told me he smoked one for my mom. That comment immediately upset me. To me, it felt like he was out getting high with his friend, having a good time, and then somehow using my mom as the reason for it. It felt disrespectful and honestly made me angry. Part of what's bothering me is that I don't think he ever would have told me if I hadn't specifically asked. At the same time, he's the type of person who expects me to tell him everything I do and gets upset over even small things if I don't mention them. It's been several days, and I'm still irritated about it. Maybe I'm overreacting because emotions are high right now, but the whole situation just doesn't sit right with me. Anyways, that's my rant. Story number 7. My therapist dropped me because he said he was developing romantic feelings for me. The past couple of years have been pretty hard for me, and the only thing really keeping me going is dental school. IF had gotten out of a toxic long-term relationship, and I took the breakup pretty hard. Then the following year, I was essayed by my orthodontist, who I was shadowing for dental school, and I had to cut off all contact with my biological father because he told me that he was starting to develop romantic feelings for me. I almost got kicked out of dental school for academic probation. My uncle, who I was extremely close to, also lost his life to lung cancer. Somehow my mom finally convinced me to actually get a therapist. Over time, I started meeting him a little bit less because I felt like I was getting better. I made new friends, I was doing well in school, and overall I was happier. But at one of our meetings, he said he thinks we should start meeting more again because he believes that our bond isn't as strong as it was before. I found what he said to be a little odd, but I brushed it off. After every session, he began texting me saying he'll see me at the next meeting, and he can't wait, even though he had already told me that in person. I think I was looking past some of the weird things because he got me through a very tough period in my life. But some of the things started to become hard to ignore. At our most recent meeting, he told me that he's decided to stop counseling me because he believes his feelings towards me are crossing the line of therapist and patient. I was extremely confused. I didn't even know what to say. All I could do was accept it. And at first I respected the fact that he realized his feelings were inappropriate and he took a step back. But then he told me that my lack of father figure made him feel paternal towards me and that it eventually developed into romance. He said it was similar to what my biological father felt. I could be wrong, but throughout his rant, it was as if he was trying to blame me, saying it's my fault that he developed feelings for me and that he wishes we met under difficult circumstances. I don't know if it's me or if I did something in my past life that was so terrible, and my curse was having all the older men in my life eventually end up having predatory feelings towards me. But I genuinely just can't understand it. I just left, and the front desk guy gave me a list of referrals for other therapists. I also got a document via email where he basically just explained why he was ending our therapy. I really don't know how to put what I am feeling into words, because I don't know how I feel. I just keep telling my mom I feel confused. Story number 8. My longtime girlfriend of 5 years broke up with me because her new friends told her an open relationship was the solution. I'm currently trying to recover from this one, but I want to type it out now that I know everything. My longtime partner and live-in girlfriend broke up with me. Seems standard, but the reason got to me. I was driving home from work, and I call her, because I always call her on my way home to check in. She sounded off, and so I started prodding. She lets it slip that she wants a breakup. While I'm driving, I become hysterical and have to abandon my car on the side of the road, and my family had to drive out to get me. I call her again minutes later. I needed an explanation, and she just blurts out on the phone she wanted an open relationship. Now, from my time on the internet and life, if someone suddenly proposes an open relationship in a previously monogamous one, it may be a sign that they have cheated/have someone in mind. It's a huge red flag. I will add she had gotten cold toward me for a while and had joked about going on friend dates. After staying the night with my parents, I went over the day after to get most of my stuff. I asked her to fully explain herself. Her answer was simply she fell out of love with me, and she hasn't loved me in a long time. She then decided the best option was to ask her college friends. They suggested we start an open relationship. I was furious. I don't know who thinks that's the solution to a relationship issue. I got angry and took my stuff and left. She threw away 4 years because she wasn't willing to be an adult and talk to me. She also added she felt like she had no options because I wasn't home enough and didn't give her enough affection. I will also add I'm the only one of us who has a job. She does college full-time. She has only 3 classes and spends most of her days out with friends while I work 40 to 50 hours a week. And I did almost all house chores except dishes. I'm now scrambling because I don't have a home anymore, and we adopted a cat. She is unable to care for the cat as she gets overwhelmed at scooping litter and basic care. Curly the cat is still with her, but when I went to get my stuff, it was clear litter had not even been scooped once and was overflowing, as well as the cat didn't have food in the bowl. Don't get me started on her and the rats. She refuses to clean their cage, so that also falls on me. Today I'm going to get my animals. My mom is willing to see if we can house them here. That's all. I lost 4 years over someone who saw me as a mother and not a partner. Sorry for any formatting issues. To clear up some frequent asked questions and concerns. 1. We did not have an apartment. We lived in a home owned by her father, as her family is very well off. The home was paid for, and we were not asked to pay rent. I covered all utilities month by month. She does not have my cards anymore, so clean split on finances. No joint accounts, thank God. 2. Pets all safe with me now. Writing this as my cat attacks her toy mice at the foot of my bed. I got all my stuff today with my parents. Everything that I paid for, so the bed, sofa, all the decorations, my wine glasses, ECT. Rats are also safe and have a nice cozy space to adjust. Happy boys are getting plenty of food and love in a newly clean cage. Kitty has a spotless litter box. 3. I have blocked her on all media. Thank you all for your concern. Now that the anger has subsided, I'm ready to be myself. I've missed a lot, so I'm ready to find myself. I also understand she was very sheltered and spoiled. She was never truly ready or prepared for something serious. That I find comfort in. It's not my fault, and I'm not unlovable. And here is the last story for today. Ending my long-distance relationship after feeling emotionally neglected and unheard for too long. I'm ending my long-distance relationship because I feel consistently unheard, emotionally unsupported, and deprioritized. Communication issues, double standards, and repeated broken trust have left me feeling alone and drained despite trying multiple times to fix things. I still care about him, but I don't feel valued or emotionally safe anymore, so I'm choosing to walk away. I am a 26F dating a 26M of 2 years. I plan on sending him this tonight. Wanted to vent a little bit on here. I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt and see how this next month would go, but I'm honestly so over it. I can't keep doing this to myself anymore. I hope you actually read all of this, but if you don't, that's on you. I just need to get this off my chest before I go. Before you try to say this came out of nowhere or call me controlling or crazy, it didn't. I have begged you, cried to you, and given you multiple chances to fix the things that have been hurting me. I've tried to do everything right, but our relationship has only continued to go downhill, and I can't keep pretending it's okay. Even when I confront you about how I feel and what's bothering me, you always turn around and make about yourself saying you're over this and tired of feeling this way. But you don't actually stop and consider how I feel or what I'm going through when it's your actions causing problems. Even when you realize I'm hurt by your actions, you just put a Band-Aid over it and act nice for a little while, and then go right back to how things were. You don't actually try to fix anything, and I'm tired of going in circles like that. I also can't ignore that you told me you wanted space, that you want to communicate less, and that you want to spend more time with your friends because we talk too much, which honestly hurts even more because we are long-distance communication is literally the only thing holding this relationship together. I feel completely alone in this relationship. I'm not allowed to go out, talk to people, or even play video games with anyone without it turning into a fight. But when it comes to you, It's fine. That double standard has worn me down so much that I don't even recognize myself anymore. I used to be happy and outgoing, and now I feel like I just sit around doing nothing while you go out and live your life with your friends. I also can't forget when I had my throat surgery. We barely talked for days, and the moment I was finally on my way home from surgery and just wanted comfort, I asked you to watch a movie or play games with me. Your response was no, that you can play your games instead. In a moment where I really needed you, you still chose your friends and your games over me. You've said things to me that I will never forget, and honestly, I don't think I'll ever fully forgive. When I needed you the most, you weren't there. You left me twice when my mom was in the hospital, and I needed you. You chose Jared over me. When my dog Sammy died, instead of being there for me, you picked a fight and made me feel even worse. I cried for days, and you still made it about how we talked too much and how you needed time with your friends instead of supporting me. You've shown me over and over where I stand in your life. You forgot our 2-year anniversary and didn't even realize it until days later. Valentine's Day felt like nothing more than a late afterthought with a post to your Snapchat story at 9 p.m. You say you'll call me, but I'm not even the first thing on your mind anymore. On April 22nd, you said you'd call me when you woke up, and instead your first thought was Jared and the gym. I used to be your priority, and now I'm clearly not. Ever since you met Jared, everything changed. Our relationship started falling apart, and you began choosing him and everyone else over me. I've held on to how things used to be for so long, but I can't keep holding on to the past while the present keeps hurting me. I'm tired of begging for your attention. I'm tired of feeling like I'm last in your life. This relationship has broken me in ways I can't even fully explain. The person I once loved, I've started to feel resentment toward, and I hate that it got to this point, but I still have love for you. I need someone who actually chooses me, who wants it the way I want them, and who shows up for me without me having to beg. I deserve that, and I'm not getting it here. So I'm done. I'm choosing myself and walking away. By the time you see this, you'll be removed and blocked from everything. I hope it was worth it for you. I do hope you find whatever you're looking for, but this is the last thing you'll hear from me. Goodbye.